In the next segment, we've had a lot of discussion here on this station and here in this state relative to the issues of Proposition 36 and AB 109. Some people are very concerned about, oh my goodness, we can't let people out of prison. They're in prison for a reason. Well, my next guest on the other side of the break is one of the first beneficiaries of Proposition 36. Talking about voting, what we just voted on? Well, now he is out after his third strike. He has an amazing story. You need to hear it. Maybe it might change your mind on Proposition 36. Stick around. This is Mo Kelly in the Morning. K-Talk AM 1150. Your voice. K-Talk AM 1150. Your voice. This is Mo Kelly in the Morning. Second hour. Coming up at noon is Randy Rhodes. And, of course, at 3 o'clock will be David Cruz. We'll be keeping you live and local from 3 to 7. One of the hot-button issues, one of many, here in Los Angeles and more broadly in California, has been the issue of 3 strikes. Third strike, 25 to life. That third strike could be minor, inconsequential, or major. But the understanding was you're a repeat offender and you, at least the argumentation was, should spend the rest of your life in jail. But with Proposition 36, which we just voted on most recently, it has allowed judges the wherewithal, the range, to allow certain third strike offenders out of jail early, assuming that they weren't violent. Now, one of the people first out because of this measure now law is Aaron Collins. Now, I'm not going to tell you Aaron's story because it's better to come from him. But I know he's the author of 2 books, Crack Dreams and the Criminal Law Cookbook. And it's my pleasure to have him in studio right now. Aaron, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm just very happy that I can be here with you today.
Very quickly, tell me about your 3 offenses.
1986, I had a burglary and a robbery, and that sent me to prison for approximately 4 years. I did two years off of that, but during that period, I had a serious drug problem, which was crack. So in 1990, I had another robbery, which landed me in prison for 24 years flat with half-time, which consists of about 12 years that I have to do. And while incarcerated, I did something very, very stupid. I allowed for myself to be in possession of marijuana. That marijuana charge in 1995, because of 3 strikes, the Proposition 84 at that time, known as the 3 strikes law, what came out, and I was affected by that based on the fact that I had actually 3 prior convictions, which are of serious and violent nature.
All right, so your third strike, as it were, was just possessing marijuana while in prison.
That is correct.
And so your sentence at that point would have been, or was given, what was the sentence at that point?
Well, the initial sentence was 24 years
right.
half-time.
Uh-huh.
So when I got caught with maybe about a tablespoon of marijuana, about that much.
Mm-hmm.
I had pled guilty to a CAS mine, but I was not aware that they was going to take that and submit a DA's request for prosecution to the district attorney's office and prosecute me. So what had happened was they gave me that. So now, once I got convicted, found guilty because I pretty much pled guilty to it, they elected by the statutes and the law of California to sentence me to 25 years to life. And that time did not start after the completion of...
Right, that's what I was wondering.
After the completion of the actual charge.
Not concurrently, so you had to
no,
run
consecutively. That is correct, yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm not saying all of a sudden, I should say, at what point did you know that there was a possibility that you might be released from prison early?
Well, I knew that the California voters had been duped. When Proposition 84 was placed on the ballot, what happened was we had Polly Klaas, who's Mark's Klaas' daughter, who was a victim of a horrible crime. She was killed and raped by Richard Allen Davis. I think some smart politicians utilized that moment, he seized the moment to create a law that he thought would stop repeated offenders that committed serious and violent offenders. Mm-hmm. And what happened was those who committed minor offenses, even though they had 2 prior strikes, they was caught in this big old enormous like fishnet, and I was one of those persons.
Okay, so all total, how many years were you incarcerated?
I was incarcerated 23 years, 1 month.
And And you're how old now?
I'm 46 years old.
Talk to me then about the change in mindset. You're a younger person who admittedly engaged in criminal activity, and now you're 46 and you have a new lease on life. What did prison do to change your mindset? I want to talk about the rehabilitation process of prison.
Well, a lot of times when you enter into a maximum security prison, there is a certain reputation or a certain ego that is conditioned that you must fall up under. And what I mean by that, you have to be in a position where you have to act hardcore, because you're not hardcore if you don't stand your own grounds. You'd be considered as a punk, and you can be taken advantage of. So there was times with me being young, 23, 24 years old, a young African American that was vibrant. You know, I participated in the racial riots. I participated in the fighting. I participated in the...
Where were you at this point? Where were you
I was at New Folsom, California State Prison, Sacramento. And, you know, I was on a yard where there was constant violence. There was violence every day. There was people getting stabbed every day.
Every day?
Every day. It was a social norm every day that a person is either getting stabbed or getting beat up or, you know, getting raped.
Okay, all right. For what? For what reason? What is usually the genus for something? What's going to get you stabbed quicker than anything?
Disrespect will get you stabbed quicker than anything. Step on somebody's shoe without apologizing, because the whole prison yard it breeds respect. This is where you must give that respect, or we're going to take the respect from you. So there's a catalyst for every forms of disrespect. A lot of times in this certain setting, the Hispanics deal primarily only with the Hispanics. Right. The whites deal only with the whites. The blacks deal solely with the blacks. It is an interracial breeding ground of racism, basically. Everybody sticks to their self. I could not... Do you have any choice, or is that just preferred? It is... You have no choice. It is the norms set by those who are older, those who have been participating in prison gangs, who have established a certain policy that everybody must fall under. And because of this policy had been established, they're saying, okay, by following this established policy, you don't get caught up in crap. You do not get caught up in interracial mingling where there could be violence or there could be problems. And one of the biggest things inside of the prison is that dealing drugs to a different race. Because if you deal drugs to a different race, that race do not have to pay you in the event that that person does not give you your money. All right.
My original question was this transformation of your thought, your mindset. With all that going on, how do you remain focused on being a better person, a better man, and getting to a point where you can be a reasonable individual when you come back out in society?
And you know, I think it's funny that you asked me that, because it took a while for me to adapt and adjust. It took me a while for me to say enough is enough. I'm talking about I did at least 15, 16 years before I decided to get my life in order. And one day I was invited to a meeting. It was called the Conflict Resolution. It was a meeting where, you know, it's a self-help group. You know, I did anger management. I did Life Without a Crutch. I did NAAA. But this particular self-help group, Conflict Resolution, there was a guy who used to be a former prisoner. He wasn't at my prison, but he was a former prisoner, and he was allowed to come into the institution and, I guess you can pretty much say, give his testimony. So he came in and he gave a testimony, and he was talking about, he says, you know, I used to be exactly where you guys were. I did the same things that you did. And he says, well, if you want to change the way, he said, if you want to change the way you look or change the way you feel, then you have to change the way you think. And I thought about that. I said, So he told me how he had changed his life, like while he was inside, how he got away from the negativity, how he started surrounding himself around positive individuals who were about something. And these people, I can tell you that those inmates who are in prison who have a life sentence really isn't about the crap, because they have to be positive, because they have to go in front of a board. And the board wants to know whether or not you've been doing good or not. And one small minor infraction can cost them a parole denial up to 15 years. So I said to myself, I knew that the law was going to eventually change. So I said to myself, well, even though if I'm not going to ever go home, to hell with it. I need to better myself for me. I need to be a better person. And as a result of that, I ended up getting in school. I earned many degrees. I got a degree in paralegal studies, one in business, one in arts humanities, you know, one in liberal arts with honors. I made the Dean's Honor Roll every semester. I said, let me get myself together. Let me get it together. I need to do right. Because I've always believed that once California voters figured out and got the intricacies of what this law was about and how they was duped, because it was brought to their attention finally how they was duped, I knew that they was going to change it. I knew most definitely it's going to change it. You know, just like Sam Cooke said, change is going to come. All I had to do was just wait for it.
Okay, now I know someone's probably listening. We got to do a traffic break right now, but I know someone's listening saying, well, this guy is the exception, but not the rule. And there are a lot of folks in prison who need to be in prison, deserve to be in prison, and shouldn't be the light of day. Let's talk about that on the other side. K-Talk AM 1150, your voice. Traffic is now brought to you by the helpful SoCal Honda Traffic Center. K-Talk AM 1150, your voice. Mo Kelly here. I'm having a conversation with Aaron Collins, a three-strike offender, but was recently released thanks to Proposition 36. You might remember it. You voted on it, either for or against it. Now I'm talking with someone who specifically, life was changed because of it. Aaron, in the previous segment, I talked about some of the things that you had done, your life in prison, what you had to overcome, what you had to deal with on a daily basis. And I talked about the mentality, the growth, and the maturation that you had to go through. But I also know that there's another side to it. I think that you are the exception, not the rule. I believe that more times than not, people are in prison for a specific reason, for a specific set of behavioral transgressions, and they should not be with us in general society. There should be that buffer. And I'm asking you, as someone who has been in prison for, I'll say, the better part of your life, is it your sense that you are the exception?
I am the exception. I would say that I am honestly the exception, because I think that there's a saying that says, if it's to be, it's up to me. And I think that every person that is incarcerated have the opportunity and the willpower to want to make a difference or make a change. There are people that are incarcerated right now actually deserve to be there. When it comes to being the three strikes law, I think it is an excellent law.
Wait. You just said you think three strikes is an excellent law.
That is correct. I think it is a great law, but I don't think it should apply to those who with nonviolent or non-serious offenses.
Okay.
I think it's a great law. Those people who have nonviolent, non-serious offenses normally are drug addicts. Those are committing petite crimes to support a drug habit. And I think there should be money set aside to create drug rehabilitation programs for those who actually want to change their lives.
Okay, I know there's a voice in my head saying right now, but you, Aaron, you were guilty of a violent offense, were you not?
I was guilty of a violent offense in the past.
That's what I'm saying. So,
yes.
So someone may suggest here that you're saying that you yourself may not or should not be out of prison then, if you want to look at it as like if you were guilty of violence at some point in your past. Or are you saying that three strikes law should only apply to all violent offenses?
What I am saying is that, in all honesty, I deserved everything that I had coming. Okay. I deserved that because I could not leave drugs alone. I had the willpower to say no, and I chose not to say no. Right now, I am man enough to tell you and all the KTLK radio listeners that I deserve to still be incarcerated right now because of my past. I was given a break. Once I was given that break, I said, I'm going to take advantage of this break, and I'm going to get my life right, and I'm going to start doing the right things, and I'm going to be everything that I can be and that I should be. And I have every day I follow this practice to be better than I was yesterday. The biggest problem that I had in the past was I was heavy on crack. I mean, I would steal from you. If you turn your back, I'm going to steal from you. I stole from families. I stole from friends, all to support a $300 a day habit. So I deserve everything that I had coming.
What is $300 a day of crack? What is that?
I said would probably be equivalent to, let me say, maybe about 6 marbles, the size of about 6 marbles. I was that hooked where I started sleeping in alleys, eating out of garbage cans, I pretty much lost respect for self. I have lost a whole bunch of friends that no longer respected me, cussed me out, throw rocks at me, beat at me, spit on me, and everything. I mean, I went through psychological hell doing that. And while I sat inside of that prison, I said, God, if you ever give me another chance, I'm going to do the right thing.
You said something I think is at the crux of this matter. You made the distinction between violent offenders and those who may be addicted to drugs. You, someone who has been in prison, not necessarily because of drugs, but that was part of the equation. What do you think of our laws specifically as far as how we treat drug offenders as opposed to rehabilitating drug offenders?
Well, this is the thing. Because of the budget of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, there's really no real drug rehab program in prison that addresses this issue. And those are people that are in prison that actually really, really, really need help. I'm in prison with guys that are still using crack, who are still shooting heroin, who are still shooting. They can still get those things inside. They can still get those inside. They are shooting heroin. They are shooting crystal methamphetamine. They are taking ecstasy. They are using these as crutches to pass that life sentence that the judge had hit them with. Once you get a life sentence inside a prison, and thank God it didn't happen to me, you're put in a nonchalant state that you don't give a damn whether you live or whether you die. You don't care. I done seen some strong people turn to homosexuality because, man, the hell with it. I ain't gonna never go home. I have seen strong people who have never ever used drugs before now strung out on crystal methamphetamine or ecstasy, or who are strung out on heroin or just doing things that they've never ever done before as an escape of the reality of having to spend the rest of their lives in prison.
If you just joined the program, I'm being joined by Aaron Collins, a recent beneficiary. As a matter of fact, how long have you been out of prison at this point?
I've been out about close to 5 weeks.
5 weeks out of prison, thanks to Proposition 36. You voted on it recently. You may have voted for it or against it. But now we're having a real conversation with someone who it directly affected. You've been out 5 weeks. What does the future hold for you? What are you aspiring to do?
Well, so far I have, I just recently took finals for 3 additional degrees. Sociology, social and behavioral sciences, and American studies. Did that. I have been applying for a lot of jobs. I have radio air checks. I love radio. I am a radio personality. I would love to be on radio.
You sound awful good right now. No.
I am, as you know, I'm African-American, but I am bilingual. So I did take advantage of a positive situation.
¿Puedes hablar español?
Sí, tú sabes que yo puedo hablar español.
Ooh,
that's right. That is correct. That is correct. So I am one of those, I guess you can say the exception, who came out running. And I'm still running right now. You just can't see my feet moving from the position that I am. I am doing everything that I possibly can positively to move myself forward. I am looking for jobs. I'm doing everything that I can.
What is that like when you're trying to get a job and you have to fill out that application or turn in that resume and you have to acknowledge your past of incarceration? How does that go?
Well, see, to me, it doesn't bother me because either you're going to, I'm going to be the exception to the rule. Either you're going to give me an opportunity or you're not. It feels good for me to say that, okay, hey, look, I'm a convicted felon. And because it feels good, not the fact that people are going to say, oh, man, they're not going to give us a job. They're not going to do this. They're not going to do that. Well, I don't think that way. I don't think in a negative light. I just know that there are programs out there. And me, myself, I had to go pursue them because the Department of Corrections, these other little programs are not going to help you. I found out, Mo, that when a person is earnest in his attempt to change his life, if he really, really, really won't change, I know for a fact that people will help you.
Aaron, can you stick around for another segment?
Great,
I think
not a problem.
This is a fascinating conversation.
I'm here.
And for all the conversations I've had, this concept of what prison and rehabilitation has been for me has been radically changed by you. And I think you have something important to offer which could radically change people who are listening. K-Talk AM 1150, your voice. I'm Mo Kelly. Let's get a look at traffic. K-Talk Traffic is brought to you now by the helpful SoCal Honda Traffic Center. Terry Jane says it is pretty slow out there on the 101. No surprise. K-Talk AM 1150, your voice. Mo Kelly, if you just joined the program, I'm speaking with Aaron Collins, who's sharing his fantastic story of being out of prison literally 5 weeks, hitting the ground running, thanks to Proposition 36. Pretty controversial to some. But now we're seeing the fruits of that legislation. And I wanted to change the conversation, I should say redirect the conversation in this way, Aaron. You told me about the mentality of the rehabilitation, but what is the emotional process? What is it like being in prison on a day-to-day basis and you still have that hope of getting out, but you can't necessarily see that light?
Well, you know, what's interesting is that every day for those who, you know, even instill hope in self, prayer changes things through that. We think about how every day that we can manifest to be better than we was from the day before. Every day I go out, I say, Lord, help me to make it through the day so I don't get caught up in the crap. I don't get caught up in chaos. Because you're in a setting where there's multiple behaviors, personalities, characteristics, and it's just somebody every day has awakened on the wrong side of the bunk, per se. So you have controversy every day.
It's interesting, you said bunk, not bed.
No, it is a bunk. But now if we was talking about home, it's a bed. I am not institutionalized. So with the emotional aspect of this, what makes it powerful is the fact that you have hope, even though you know you have done wrong and your conscience telling you that, bad boy, there is hope. And you have that hope, and I think it's the only strong, viable object that we hold on to. That hope that says that just maybe there's going to be a better day.
What is it from day to day?
It's day to day. It's day to day.
Are we talking tears and happiness? I mean, how does
well,
it
you
go?
know, sometimes it's prayer. Prayer accompanies tears all the time, especially when you want change. You know, I feel a shout coming on. You know, I'm saying there is prayer in everything that we do there, and this prayer keeps us stable.
Keeps you.
But
are you still the exception in that regard?
Most definitely. And you know what's so cool about it, Mo? And it's really a lot of people there don't care. I mean, you know, you have a lot of people that don't care. And there are people that are there that don't care to the point where they would hate on Mo Kelly because Mo Kelly want to get his life right. Because Mo Kelly do not want to participate in illegal activities anymore. Because Mo Kelly wants to go to Narcotic Anonymous and Alcoholic Anonymous and anger management. He wants to take these self-help groups because there's a hope that Mo Kelly is going to go home one day. And these are the type of things that you will build for yourself for the board of prison term hearing. Because when you go in front of a board of prison term, Mr. Kelly, we see that you have been doing great. You have been disciplinary free, and you're here today because we want to talk to you about possibly granting you parole. Everybody.
What's that like? When you're sitting in front of that board, what is the emotional, what's going through you inside you?
Well, this is what I have to tell you, Mo. I never had to experience that because the board didn't let me out. Proposition 36 voters let me out. So I don't know, but I can just imagine when you have to sit up there and give your best spiel. You have to do your best convincing to let these people know, hey, look, I got me together. I have got my life right. I am a better man right now as we speak. I'm asking you, please, to let me go home. And I appealed to pretty much the California voters. And I think the California voters in general, on a whole, heard the voices and cry of some of these prisoners when they put the contents and the language in the ballot. Hey, look, a lot of us isn't all bad. A lot of us have minute crimes. You're locking us up that costs $1 million, you know, per year, per se, which includes, you know, health care, medical care, activities, food, room and board, and everything. It costs a lot of money to house us. We're appealing to the California voters. Hey, look, all of us isn't bad. Some of us made mistakes. Some of us won't change. Would you please change this?
Now, if we agree, and I think we do, that you are the exception, not necessarily the rule, what about those who may come out of prison because of Proposition 36 who don't necessarily live up to that standard of newfound freedom and aren't able to process it and handle it?
This is what I think. If a person does not, after being, and see, this is the cool thing about it, 1995 was when it actually came into effect. January 20th, I believe, 1995, or January 1st, 1995. There are prisoners in there who at least in their 40s who will be coming out as a result of Proposition 36. At least, they have at least 15 to 20 years incarcerated before they come out. These are the people who have been affected by 3 strikes. They have at least 15 years or more in prison affected by this. It has been statistics and polls showing that person who is older do not reoffend as much as those who will be young. So a lot of people that comes out, it is up to them. It is really their choice and their choice only to want to change their life. If they want to participate back into the old regime that they did years ago, then to hell with them. That is their choice, and they will be back.
So you're not going to carry the burden of anyone else's transgressions or sins moving forward.
Well, all I can tell you like this, Mo, I have a California ID. And the only person that I care about is that person on that ID.
In that photo.
That photo. I am responsible solely for his success, for his forward progress. And if it is because of destruction, it wouldn't be because of Mo Kelly. It wouldn't be because of California voters, because the California voters said, look, we're going to help you. But you got to really want this help to help yourself. So it would be because of me that I fail.
Let me ask you this, and I should have possibly asked you about this earlier. There's another measure which has been considered to be very controversial. That was AB 109. No inmates currently in state prison would be released early. All felons sent to state prison will continue to serve their entire sentence in state prison. All felons convicted of current or prior serious or violent offenses, and sex offenses against children will go to state prison. The reason I want to bring this up as we close the conversation, people have a fear of those who are in prison coming out of prison. And we have come to some sort of agreement that not everyone in prison deserves to be out of prison. Talk to me real quick about the difference between state prison. What is it? What is it like? And what does it entail relative to the people who are incarcerated in state prison?
What do you mean, incarcerated in the county jail or as opposed to
a state prison? Exactly.
I know pretty much a lot about AB 109 because my last job when I was in prison, I was a legal clerk, legal law library clerk. So I have experience in that, plus with a degree in paralegal studies. A lot of guys, there's correct about the AB 109 measures that they do not want to release anybody who has been incarcerated. There are certain crimes that fit this particular AB 109, Assembly Bill 109, that allows for alternate sentencing. And this alternate sentencing would, in fact, place those qualified inmates into the county jails. Now, I can tell you from a lot of guys who I speak with, they hate it because they are limited. They are limited in the county jail. They do not get the fresh air. They do not get the contact visits. They hate it to a T. Those who are incarcerated in a state prison, those who have less and less time, no way in hell would they want to go be into the county jail. Okay, most definitely. Okay. There's a big distinction between there. There's those who if I go out there and do maybe a possession charge, a possession of, I'm going to say crystal methamphetamine. Because it fits the criteria for AB 109 sentencing, criteria, despite the fact of my past, it would hurt me to put me inside of the county jail because it is terrible. I have no freedom that I had when I was in a state prison. Now, those who have experienced state prison before, they will tell you it is hell. I do not want to be in here. And some will probably be foolish enough to commit other crime so that just so they can get to a California prison. It is that bad.
He is Aaron Collins, and as you can tell, he knows his stuff and he's clear on the direction of his life. Aaron, you know we're going to stay in touch. We're going to continue this conversation.
Most definitely, man.
As we discuss these issues here on KTLK AM 1150, you need to be our go-to person.
That'll be great.
And I'm glad that you hounded me. And people don't know. He sought me out and said, I'm coming on your show.
That is, I'm coming. And I'm Mo Kelly. KTLK radio listeners, Mo Kelly is going to give me a job. He's going to give me a job.
He's going to help me. I want to help you.
He's going to help me get a job.
Let's be clear.
So he's going to help me get a job. So hopefully someone is out there who's in the know, whatever, can, help me get a job and get into...
Very quickly, how can someone reach you? Because I know someone has been inspired by this conversation.
They can reach me at Aaron, AARON _C_Collins at yahoo.com. Aaron_C_Collins at
yahoo.com.
Or they can call KTLK 1150. And, yeah, most definitely I will be giving the producer my information.
And you also have it on the website today, KTLK-AM1150.com. Aaron, thank you for coming in.
I thank you very much for inviting me.
K-Talk AM 1150, your voice. K-Talk Traffic is brought to you now by the helpful SoCal Honda Traffic Center. It's a tough drive on the 5 in Orange County, says Terry James.